This week on our Wisdom Wednesday, just the other day, we talked about this story of a hitting coach, a baseball coach that I had in college, who had the ability to come in and to transform hitters, to transform in an offensive team in the matter of minutes. And sometimes it could be a 15-minute conversation. I saw him do it the first time. He had an hour conversation with our team, and the whole thing turned. We went on to have the best offense, around in our entire area. Right after that, he had this ability to do that, and he did three things. Number one, he changed the goal. He gave everyone a bigger goal of every time they stepped up to the plate, their goal was to change the scoreboard. And so he gave everybody a bigger goal. A lot of times we can get focused on shooting for the wrong goals in our life. Maybe we think too small. Maybe we're aiming at the wrong things, but he gave everybody a more focused, clear goal for every time they went up to the plate. He talked about anytime you have this vision of going up and changing the scoreboard, it's going to affect what you swing at. Not every pitch that you get is something that you should be swinging at, and so you need to be letting some of the pitches go, even strikes, in the hopes of getting something better that you can really drive and you can really change the scoreboard with. And then when it came to the actual mechanics of the swing, he always talked about this principle of the beginning and the end, which is that if the beginning and the end of the swing are in the correct place, typically everything in the middle is going to tend to work out. Now, we talked about that this is a biblical, universal principle that applies to everything. If you can get the beginning and the end of anything in the correct place, typically everything is going to work out. Now, this is a representation of Jesus, who says, I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. See, the Bible starts in the Garden of Eden and it ends in heaven. Everything in the middle gets a little crazy sometimes in the middle, but eventually it ends up working its way out as we get to the end of the Bible. Jesus is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. So let's talk about this principle a little bit more of the beginning and the end. The other day we talked about how the beginning of the swing, the goal is to store up as much potential energy as possible. And you do this by stretching backwards. The pitch is coming this way and I'm trying to hit this way, but I've got to stretch backwards first and store up all of this potential waiting to be released. Now, the Bible tells us that we are supposed to store up God's commands, store up His Word in our hearts, fix His Word in our hearts. And when we store that Word in our heart, a lot of times it can feel like we're getting stretched. So we talk about this abundant life blueprint a lot of times. And one of the things I've learned is that, we draw circles around the different areas of your life, and those circles represent our emotional capacity and our willingness to stretch out and to grow in our faith and our patience and our love and our courage and, not be stressed and not let things overwhelm me as I stretch myself and I'm willing to step out of the boat and be a little more bold and courageous. That's what expands me into the other areas of life. And I've got all this stretch, I've got all this potential energy that's waiting to be activated. So as I store up God's Word in my heart, as I store it in, I keep feeding it in there and I stretch it and I stretch it and I store it up inside of my heart, it's an amazing thing, this potential that's created on the inside of you. The Bible talks about you have treasure on the inside of you. You have this treasure in earthen vessels. You have this treasure that's in your heart. You store up His Word in your heart and it begins to grow you. It begins to stretch you. It begins to create all of this potential energy that's waiting to be activated, waiting to be released out into the world. But then the next step is, we store it up, but then we do have to activate it. We do have to release it out into the world. Remember, we talked about it's two things. We have to have a balance. The beginning, I have to store up all of this tremendous potential on the inside of me, and then I've got to have the end. I've got to finish. I've got to finish high. Focus on the follow-through. We talked about the end of the swing. We focus on the follow-through and getting things up high and creating the lift on the follow-through. One of the goals of the baseball swing is to create some lift so that I drive the ball on an angle coming back out. I'm not just hitting it on the ground every time. I'm driving it on an angle that has some lift to it. Because if I want to hit the ball, I want to change the scoreboard, I've got to hit it into the air, on a line or into the air. I've got to have the right launch angle. I've got to have the right trajectory. These days in baseball, the technology is pretty amazing. If you watch baseball games today, they talk a lot about launch angle, okay? Having the right launch angle is an important part of hitting. So I store up all of this tremendous potential on the inside of me. I stretch and I pull back, okay? A lot of times when we first start out with God, and we begin to follow Him, we begin to pursue His path for our lives, and we begin to store up His Word in our heart, He's going to begin to stretch us. A lot of times it's actually going to look like you're going the wrong way. It's going to look like you're going backwards. I know this is the case for me in my life. It's like I'm doing all of the right things. I'm storing up all this potential energy, but I'm going the wrong way. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. And then what's going to happen is this. We've created this filter. I've got this end goal in my mind. Remember, I always want to start with the end in mind. The end of a thing is better than the beginning. So I start with my goal of where I'm trying to get to. And I begin then to store up His Word in my heart. And I begin to store it up, and I begin to stretch myself. I begin to grow. I begin to create all of this potential energy that's waiting to be released as I grow in my faith, and I grow in my courage, and I grow in my peace, and I grow in my love and my security in Him by stretching myself with His Word in my heart. And I grow in that. I begin to stretch. And I never forget, one day I was working out, and I was working out with elastic rubber bands. And He said, I heard God say in my heart, I'm about to shoot you. I've been stretching you, and I'm about to shoot you like an arrow into the hearts of the people that I've called you to. Okay? He's been stretching me first. Okay, so the first step is He's going to stretch you. Okay, I know this is not what everybody thinks, not everybody tells you, but He's going to, as you begin to store that up inside, you're going to feel it. It's going to get to the point where it's almost overflowing, and eventually it's just going to start to come out of you. Okay, that's out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. But we got to get it to the place where it's getting stretched, and then when all of a sudden we let it go, it gets squeezed, it gets released out into the world. Now, I've got it all stored up. Now I've got to wait for the right pitch. Okay, God's got a perfect timing for you. He's got a perfect plan for your life, and we store all this up, okay? And a lot of times I have to learn to let those other pitches go that are not the ones that He's called me to, not the ones that are going to get me to that big impact, to change the scoreboard in the world, to change the scoreboard in my life, and to move me towards the goals that He has for my life. I've got it all stored up, but I have to wait for the right pitch. I have to wait for the right time. Okay, and we have to trust. Okay, part of storing this up is that I'm growing in my trust in God that He's going to do it at the right time, even though it looks like I'm going the wrong way. It looks like I'm going backwards. Okay, I know that I'm going the right way. Now, you think about this in the Bible. There is a law in the Old Testament that the people of Israel were not allowed to eat the fruit from a tree for the first 3 years. In the 4th year, all of the fruit had to be given to God, and then in the 5th year, they could actually eat the fruit from a tree. Okay, so we're storing up. So think of like a seed. You're storing up all this potential energy like a seed, and you're going to develop all of the root system. The tree's got to develop. Everything's got to be ready to go. And then in the 4th year, all the fruit goes to God. So you think it's time, but it's not quite time yet. All the fruit's going to go to God. And then finally in the 5th year, everything can be released. And now the harvest comes. And it all looked like nothing was happening for 4 or 5 years. It looked like nothing was happening for 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden, now you get a harvest. Okay? Nothing for 4 or 5 years. And all of a sudden, a harvest. Jesus references this parable in the Bible. He says, there's a parable given where it says He comes up looking for fruit on a tree. And He said, hey, it's been 3 years. Where's the fruit? Okay, and the guy says, oh, there's no fruit. Let's dig around it, and we'll fertilize it, and then we'll give it 1 more year. So after the 4th year, okay, we're moving into the 5th year. Now we expect fruit, okay? So sometimes in your life, we've got to store up this tremendous potential, this tremendous energy, this tremendous capacity waiting to be released. And then at the right time, God's going to say, go. Okay? And He's going to take His hand off of the arrow, and you're going to begin to go, and you're going to begin to accelerate. Now, as I start the baseball swing, the goal is to create as much acceleration as possible. So when it's time to go, I've got all of that stuff waiting to get ready. Now I've got to activate it. Okay? I've got to activate it and let it go and let it rip and let it fly. Okay? It's just like the baseball coach used to say, when you get that pitch, when you got all that energy stored up and you get the pitch, let it go. Okay? Let it go. Let that swing go. Swing aggressively and go for it. You are trying to drive that ball out of the ballpark. You're trying to drive that ball over the fence and finish all the way through. Follow through. So as I store it all up, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to begin to accelerate and move down that path. Okay? And then I've got to follow through. I've got to make sure that I am following through. Make sure that I don't take my hand off of it too early. I've got to have this end in mind. I've got to have that big goal in mind, and I'm accelerating all the way through it. I'm going to follow through all the way. Make sure that everything is done. Make sure everything is completed. Make sure the follow through is completed. And then I've got the principles that I need to have in mind here. So I've got to store up all this tremendous potential. I'm going to activate it. I'm going to release it down the path. Okay? And then I've got to make sure that I stay on it and I follow through all the way until the finish. Okay? Make sure that I follow through all the way and stay on all the way to the finish with the end in mind, with the end target in mind. A lot of times there's this tendency to get right to the point of contact in baseball and to take my hand off the bat and to stop the swing there, right at the point of contact. But what he always taught is you need to continue to accelerate, okay? As you continue to accelerate past the point of contact, that's when you start to create lift, okay? The baseball path, the swing of a baseball swing, the path of a swing starts to come down at first, okay? I've got it stored up all back here. It starts to come down at first, but then as I begin to move into the upswing, okay, I start to accelerate. I start to accelerate up. I start to create lift in the swing here as I start to finish high, okay? When I begin to create that lift, that's what's going to get your life lifted up off the ground. So you see Jesus, he's got all this tremendous potential. He looks like he's, things are going the wrong way. He dies on the cross, okay? He's dead in the grave for a couple days. All of a sudden, then he starts to get lifted back out of it here. So I've got to go all the way through the point of follow through. His goal wasn't just the cross. His goal was what was beyond the cross. Okay? I've got to get not only to contact, but I've got to get beyond it as well. I've got to go all the way to the follow through here. Okay? So store up the energy, accelerate down the path, get to the point of contact, and then create lift. And get to the other side where I finish and I follow through all the way, keeping my hand on it all the way to the end. Okay? These are principles that you can apply into anything, but I guarantee you in your life, if you're following God down the path that he has for your life, and you're looking to fulfill the purpose that he's put on your life, you're going to go through this period where you are storing up and you're getting stretched, and it looks like everything is going the wrong way. You're going to begin to accelerate and to move down the path, and it's going to look like everything is going good, but then you're going to kind of come to the point where you hit the bottom a little bit of it, and then you start to come back up out of it, and you start to lift back up out of it here. Now, a lot of times, I heard God say this to me the other day, you're going to go through a sifting process. The Bible talks about Satan wanted to sift Peter, okay? But God also has a sifting. You can get sifted by Satan, or you can get sifted by God. God has a sifting process that he wants you to go through, and it's in this beginning phase here. We go through this sifting process. We move to the point of contact, and then bam, we begin to accelerate, and it's an amazing thing once we get past this point. But we have to be willing to wait back here. We have to be willing to be patient, to store up that energy, and when the pitches are coming that are not the pitch that I'm supposed to be swinging at, I have to learn to let it go. And that comes, how do I know what to let go and what to swing at? Okay, when to release all that energy that's stored up is based on the goal. Okay, if I have the end goal when I go up to the plate of I'm trying to change the scoreboard, okay, not every pitch is conducive to me swinging at it. But if I have the end goal in mind, I know what I'm trying to do. I know what I'm trying to accomplish. I've stored up enough time with God that he's shown me exactly where he's trying to take me. He's shown me the next steps and the plan for where he wants to take me. I know exactly what I need to be swinging at. I begin to be able to filter information and opportunities, because you're going to have a lot of opportunities coming your way in life, and it's the ability to filter those out and figure out which ones am I supposed to be taking, which ones are not the plan, okay, are not on the plan, and which ones are on the plan. Okay, now in baseball, something that would happen as well is sometimes the pitcher's job, his job is to deceive you. Okay, his job is to create deception when he pitches, so that it looks like a fastball coming and all of a sudden the ball moves, or it's a changeup and it's slower than you think. Okay, and our job is to be able to recognize those things early. The more clear I am on the end goal of exactly what I'm looking for, exactly what I'm trying to do, okay, the faster and quicker I can recognize those pitches. Okay, it's an amazing thing. We see this with hitters all the time. The more clear they are in exactly what they're trying to do, exactly which pitch they want to be trying to hit, okay, the faster they can recognize out of the pitcher's hand whether that's something they want to hit or not. Okay, it's an amazing thing. It serves as this filter, almost instant recognition. When you know exactly what you're looking for, all the other stuff becomes obvious. So we got to get clear on this end goal. We have to begin with the end in mind, and then begin to store up all this potential energy on the inside of us. It's just waiting to burst forth. It's almost like you're just overflowing. It's waiting to burst forth, but we got to wait till the right time and then let it go all at once. Okay, when it's time to let it go, okay, it's time to be all in. Okay, when it's time to let it go, it's time to release it to the point of contact and to the finish, it is all in. You know, one of the worst things he would talk about is that you put a swing on a pitch that is not your best swing. Okay, you see the pitch coming, and let's say the pitcher throws a changeup, okay, and you think it's a fastball. He would say, don't slow down your bat to try to hit it. Just swing as hard as you can and swing and miss, because you're going to have another opportunity. That's probably only strike one or strike two. You're going to have another opportunity to hit still. okay? And it's worse to get out. So when you go for it, okay? When you think it's the pitch, when you think it's the time, when you think it's the opportunity, jump on it. Go for it, okay? And you've got to be waiting. You've got to be ready. Remember, the mindset we talked about the other day is yes, 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 and then no, okay? A lot of people have this no, 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 and then, okay, maybe I'll do it mindset, okay? If I'm waiting for that pitch to come, and it's coming at 90 miles an hour at me, okay? I've got to be ready to go. I'm waiting. Yes, yes, I'm going to swing, and then no, 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 I'm going to hold off, okay? If I have that mindset, he said, I need to be early, okay? When you hit, you want to be early, okay? And let it go with all you have. But if I've got this mindset of no, 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 wait, maybe that's the pitch, and then I'll swing, it's too late, okay? You've missed the opportunity. So we've got to be anticipating, okay? I'm anticipating that the pitch is coming, that the one is coming that I'm looking for. So part of what's going to get you through this time back here where you're getting stretched and it looks like you're going the wrong direction for a long time is anticipation. I'm constantly looking. You know, Jesus said to pray and to watch. I'm constantly looking and I'm waiting for that time when he says, go. And then I accelerate at it. And I go full force at the thing, okay? We can't be lukewarm. When it's time to go, I can't swing half speed, okay? When it's time to go, it's time to go. You've got to activate it full force. You know, one of the things we talk about this activation. This is in my book, Cracking Heaven's Code. We talk about that's code number 5, which is all or nothing. You can't be lukewarm. You're either hot or you're cold. Either I'm swinging full speed or I'm not swinging at all. It's all or nothing. When it's time to activate it, when it's time to release it, you got to go full force. You can't be looking backward and thinking, oh, should I swing? Should I swing? When it's time to go and you know that it's time to go, full speed ahead. Okay, accelerate as much as possible, create that lift on the backside of it, follow through all the way through it, aggressive. Okay, there's a time to wait and there's a time to be patient, but when the time is right, okay, when God says go, it's time to go. Okay, it's time to go. It's time to accelerate through that pitch with everything that you've got, full force, not holding anything back. A lot of times we see that pitch and we kind of wait and we swing halfway, and we see that a lot with the hitters. And they pop up, they ground out, they make easy outs. But when you get a hitter who knows exactly what he's looking for, he knows the plan, he knows exactly what he's looking for, and he's willing to be patient, okay? He's willing to wait for the right time. The hardest part, a lot of times for the hitters that we would work with when we use this approach to hitting, is the patience. Because a lot of times they have to wait. You might go a whole at bat and you don't get the pitch that you're looking for. Okay? And you end up getting to 2 strikes. When we get to 2 strikes, then we have to move into a more defensive mode. But when we are in this offensive mode, we're looking for this one pitch, and all of a sudden we don't get it. We end up walking more. We ended up taking more pitches, and it takes some time sometimes to get that right opportunity. God is working everything together. Okay? He's creating the perfect time and the perfect opportunity for the plan that he has for your life. And when you get that time, you have to jump on it. Okay? He's going to create a timing for you, a divine timing. And when it is time, you have to jump on it. Okay? He's waiting for you. You have to activate it. You have to go for it. You have to be bold and jump on that opportunity and then follow it through all the way to the end of it. Okay? And I hope this helps. This is just some things that have kind of been on my mind. We were talking about this idea of the coach and some things that I learned from him the other day. And just these things have been kind of on my mind, talking about them the last couple of weeks with people, and I hope this helps you. You can learn more about this Abundant Life Blueprint or Cracking Heaven's Code. You can go to danielfoley.net if you want to learn more, but check out those resources there. I hope they'll be a blessing to you and will help you on your journey to seeing this thing happen in your life.